nuclear weapon.
So just to recap, since we launched the war on terror after September 11, 2001, we've spent $4 trillion and 1.3 million people have been killed in our combat zones all around the world. So Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Libya, and Somalia are the 7 countries we are currently dropping bombs at. Oh, and just as a reminder, the number of wars currently authorized by our Congress, 0.
The offer comes after a war of words between the two countries.
Rouhani said, quote, America should know that peace with Iran is the mother of all peace, and war with Iran is the mother of all wars.
President Trump warning Rouhani in all caps, never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before.
This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
We don't think this is going to help. Well, what are they going to do? To fight ISIS? The Americans lost nearly every war. They lost in Iraq. They had to withdraw at the end. They didn't succeed anywhere they sent troops. They only create mess. They are very good in creating problems and destroying, but they are very bad in finding solutions.
Oh yeah.
Iraqi television has just confirmed that Qasem Soleimani, former general in Iran's Revolutionary Guard and the commander of the Quds Force, has been killed in a rocket attack apparently initiated by the United States.
The U.S. and our allies on alert after that dramatic attack on Iran's top military commander.
Soleimani has been perpetrating acts of terror to destabilize the Middle East for the last 20 years.
One gets the impression that the agent that came up to Trump didn't exactly brief the president on potential consequences of killing the second most powerful man in Iran, General Qasem Soleimani, commander of Iran's Quds Force.
We took action last night to stop a war. We did not take action to start a war.
Then you probably shouldn't have killed him. General Soleimani was considered an icon in Iran and Iraq, a man who helped prevent ISIS's takeover of Iraq and Syria, who inspired and mobilized tens of thousands of people in multiple countries to fight the blight that is ISIS. Al-Qaeda.
The Americans are not aware what a grave mistake they've committed. They will face the consequences of this criminal act, not only today, but also in coming years. There is no doubt that the U.S. is now more hated among Iranians and Iraqis.
Hundreds of thousands have joined funeral processions and protests condemning his murder. Rage is in the air. Iran has promised revenge. American civilians are being evacuated from the entire region. U.S. embassies and bases in a slew of countries are in lockdown. Troops have been put on combat readiness, and now, Middle East on the red alert. They claim that they only want peace.
It was the time to take this action so that we could disrupt this plot, deter further aggression from Qasem Soleimani and the Iranian regime, as well as to attempt to de-escalate the situation.
Chapter 5 and verse 1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no heed that I write unto you.
You have no need that I write unto you.
For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety.
When they say peace and safety, oh, everything's good in the world. Go ahead.
Politics, all that crap that y'all watching on TV.
Then sudden destruction cometh upon them.
So he gave us a clue.
Then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape.
know I worked very hard on the Intelligence Committee to try and keep up with what was happening in the world. It got to such a crescendo, I could hardly keep up with it anymore. The events have picked up such a pace, and they're going to continue. It's just like the Bible forewarned, that in the last days it will be like the beginning of birth pains. In my opinion, we are far beyond the beginning of birth pains. We're moving far down into the process. For women who are listening to this show today, you know what I'm talking about, what it's like to deliver a baby at the very beginning stage and then at the very end before the baby is born. All I can tell you as a mom who has given birth to 5 babies, the birth pangs are very close together, they're very intense now, and we are literally watching month by month the speed move up to a level we've never seen before with these events.
Then that last contraction, boom, is when that baby's coming. That's what the Apostle Paul is revealing to us. It's going to be like that with world events.
Like we're seeing now, Bishop. Okay, what he's explaining to you is they're going to rock you to sleep and then the destruction is going to come. That's what that stuff is for, to put you to sleep. Yep. And a lot of you love being in sleep. That's why the scriptures say it's high time for you to wake up. There's nothing you can do to stop what we're bringing forth now. The Most High is not going to let them get the upper hand and then stop us from speaking. This is it. There's nothing else after this. This is it. You're experiencing the end of the world.
We don't yet know how much of a blunder Soleimani's murder was. What we do know is that the world now is a more dangerous place. Millions will hate America for this, and that hate will last for generations. Just remarkable, isn't it? How many people, more and more, keep having to die so Trump and the Pentagon can feel safe.
We know year by year what's going to happen, and they know that we know.
Wait. It's only, those are all journalists. It's only you that they tell lies to.
Your people, in turn, do not feel a sense of the impending danger. This is what worries me.
Remember, this is 2 months ago, or a month ago.
How can you not understand that the world is being pulled into an irreversible direction? That's the problem. Meanwhile, they pretend that nothing's going on. I don't know how to get through to you anymore.
The State Department issued an urgent warning overnight telling all Americans in Iraq to leave the country immediately.
This morning, Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon ordered its, quote, resistance fighters around the world to avenge Soleimani. American allies in the region, like Israel, are preparing for possible retaliation and are on high alert. The question now isn't whether Iran will strike back, but rather how and to what severity. And when it's over, will the killing of Soleimani have been worth it?
Thousands of people gathering outside Tehran's Grand Mosque to protest Soleimani's death. They shouted revenge and death to America. Some demonstrators burned U.S., British, and Israeli flags. Ayatollah Khamenei has declared 3 days of public mourning. Khamenei also warning, quote, harsh retaliation is waiting for the United States.
And when I asked him what the imminent threat was that was described by the State Department earlier today, he said he has not gotten a, quote, adequate answer yet.
But he was planning a very major attack, and we got him.
That was President Trump moments ago explaining why he took action to kill Iran's top general. He says he did it to prevent a war, but his critics are piling on.
We appear to be, without, by the way, I'd say without congressional authorization, entering into another Middle East war.
I would anticipate the Persian Gulf War will begin anew.
This one-off action can have unbelievably horrific consequences.
Because I think the American people deserve the knowledge about why this time was different, with all of the potential downsides that will come from this strike. Look, I know,
like Gaddafi in 2011. Like there's lots of downsides that came from that too.
But we're not talking about 2011, Pete. We're talking about today and President Trump.
Why can't you just step back and say this is a bad guy who's dead, and that's a good thing?
Because I think the consequences that come from it could have far-reaching strategic negative impacts on the United States that outweigh the benefit from it. I mean, this is the most consequential decision that an American administration has taken in the Middle East since the decision to invade Iraq in 2003.
Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif called the move extremely dangerous and a foolish escalation. It comes as hundreds of American troops have been deployed to the region, with President Trump issuing not a warning, but a direct threat that Iran would pay a big price for attacks on American facilities. A president who was elected promising to stop endless wars in the Middle East may just have accelerated one.